Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my life. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experiences with trichotillomania. So trichotillomania is a disorder that causes a person to have irresistible urges to pull out their hair from their body, their face, or their scalp. A lot of people say trich, or it's also known as just hair pulling disorder. So for me personally, I pull from my scalp. I started pulling, it was around my senior year, probably halfway through my senior year that I started to pull out my hair. It wasn't consciously. I would be watching TV or I would be just in my room listening to music and I would be touching my hair and pulling it out from the scalp. At the time, I didn't really think that much of it when I first started. After a few months of doing it, it started to become noticeable to me. If it wasn't noticeable to anybody else, it was very noticeable to me because I would be pulling at my hairline. I still pull here, but I pull a little bit further back, so it's easier to hide for the most part. But I would pull at the beginning of my hairline, and after a few months, obviously, I noticed that there was significant hair loss. And honestly, it was really embarrassing to me because I didn't know why I was doing it. And also, I didn't know really how to hide it yet. And by the time I graduated from high school, it was to the point where I thought, well, my hair is already so damaged and I've been pulling out my hair. So what if I just get a really short pixie cut? So that's what I did. I dyed my hair and then I cut all my hair off to a really short pixie cut. And I cut it in a way that it would have bangs in the front. So if I was pulling, I had long bangs in the front that could easily hide it. After that, I still was pulling, and then I started pulling at the sides of my hairline instead of at the front. I had no hair here. Literally pulled it to the scalp. There was no hair. And at this time, it was my first year of college, and that's when I really started to develop really bad anxiety. I was going to a therapist, and we already were talking about my anxious feelings and possibly having an anxiety disorder at the time, which now I know that I do have an anxiety disorder, but at the time I was not sure. I just knew that I had really bad anxious feelings all the time, and it was getting in the way of me living a normal life. And that's really the trigger for anyone who's dealing with anxious feelings, is everyone's gonna feel anxiety. Everyone's gonna have anxious feelings at some point in their life, right? But the point where it becomes more of something that maybe you should go and talk to somebody is when it starts to get in the way of your daily life. At the time that I was talking to my therapist about my anxious feelings and figuring all of that out, I also started talking about my pulling a little bit. I still was really embarrassed about it because I felt like, why can't I just stop? Like, why can't I just stop pulling out my hair? I didn't understand why I couldn't just stop myself. Like, why I felt so like I had to do it. I had to do it to relieve stress, or it would calm me down. Or sometimes it would just be, again, unconsciously. I would be watching TV, pulling out my hair, and there would be subconscious feelings of anxiousness. There would be tension in my body that I now know to look out for right when I start pulling. But at the time, I only mentioned it very slightly. I only said it like once or twice. And we didn't really delve that much deeper into it just because I was uncomfortable with that. If you are thinking about therapy, if there's something that you feel uncomfortable about talking about with your therapist, you can say that and you don't have to talk about it anymore. So just in case someone's thinking, oh my god, I have to talk about all my problems, if you're uncomfortable with it, you can move on to another subject. Just so you know. It's very, it's a consensual relationship and transactions. So at that point, I started thinking about shaving my head. Me and my friends would always joke about shave your head, I'm gonna shave your head, I'm gonna shave my head tonight, stuff like that, but it was never really taken that seriously. But for me, I was genuinely thinking about it because it was just the point where I was pulling out all of my hair. It was like, if it wasn't noticeable to anybody yet, it will be noticeable soon. So I was thinking, if I just shave my head and wear wigs, and I won't have any hair to pull out if I shave my head. So that's what I did. I said, okay, I put it in my mind that I'm gonna shave my head. So I bleached my hair completely, literally white, literally Draco Malfoy vibes. Very much not a vibe, but I was in a point where I just didn't care at all. So after I bleached my hair, I went to go get my head shaved. And yeah, that was a look, but it was a look I was very much uncomfortable with for the most part. That's why I did wear wigs. I started wearing wigs at that time because I just feel cuter I feel prettier with long hair. I have a wig right next to me. In my last video, I wore a wig. We love her. But yeah, I like having long hair. So that's when I started wearing wigs and experimenting with wigs and such. And even after my hair was growing out, I still would wear wigs because once it was at a length that I could pull again, I was pulling. So I figured, what the hell, I'm just gonna have to keep wearing wigs. So that's what I did. And even still to this day, I wear wigs. But half of it's because I'm lazy and I don't want to do my hair. The other half of it is because I usually won't even like how I look with my hair after I do it, because if it's not noticeable to anyone else, again, it's noticeable to me where I pull. Here, let me show you. I don't know if you can see that much, but as you can see right here, it's like paler, you know, like that's my scalp. Like this is where I pull. I pull like the hairs right here and right here are really where I pull the most, like on the sides. But what I started doing was I started pulling behind these hairs. So all these hairs are really short in the front, because instead of pulling them out from the scalp, I started to just break them off. So now they're just all really short right here. I don't know if you can see that much, but now they're just all really short. And I usually pull like a back hair. So I have like a second hairline, if you will, because this is like where I pull. So I pull like all over here. It's a very popular spot for me. And right here is another popular spot for me. I just feel like it's probably easier to conceal if it's like on the sides. And also right here, it's a popular spot for me to be pulling. So here is where my second hairline starts. That part is balder, I guess, than the rest of my head, I would say. But yeah, so that's what it looks like now. I don't have a lot of pictures of what my hair looked like when pulling was a lot less manageable for me, just because it was embarrassing for me. I didn't want to have pictures of that. You know, it just wasn't something that I wanted to. Like, I didn't feel cute, I didn't feel pretty, I felt hideous, and I felt stupid, and I felt shame, and I felt guilt, and I just felt like confused and frustrated, because again, I didn't know why I couldn't stop. Like, I literally can't stop. Once I start, it's hard for me to stop doing it. I literally was reading a book this morning, pulling. So it's like, it's something that I don't have full control over. I didn't start really talking to my therapist really deeply about it until earlier this year, mostly because I'm at a point now where I want to figure it out. Like, I've spent so many years just trying to manage it on my own and thinking, well, if I fix my anxiety disorder, if I fix this, then maybe it'll go away, and it's not going away. So I got a new therapist this year, and so I've been talking with her about that and trying to figure out other healthy coping mechanisms that work for me and that may work for other people that struggle with trichotillomania. So obviously I became really good at hiding my pulling in ways that I style my hair now. Now that my hair is at a length that I do wear it by itself, a lot of the time I have figured out ways that I can hide it to the best of my ability. If I don't feel like hiding it, or I'm just not feeling super cute that day with my hair, or I'm just feeling lazy, I'll put on a wig, and that takes literally 2 seconds. Put it on, bam. Even if you don't want to spend time styling it, making it look natural, just put on a headband. That's what I do. I've been doing it for a very long time now, and I love it, actually. I love wearing wigs. Yeah, that's really my go-to way of hiding any pulling that's going on. Now, as for what me and my therapist think started and triggered me to pull out my hair, with many mental illnesses and stuff like that, usually it's very, very complex, and there's never one reason, there's never one trigger for why something like this would start. And for me, it's very much that. It's very much more complex. My anxiety and my trichotillomania and vaginismus, literally everything that goes on in my life is very intertwined And it's hard to pinpoint exactly why I started doing this. But as of right now, me and my therapist really, since my anxiety disorder and my trichotillomania came about for me about the same time, we think that my anxiety, with me trying to just internalize it, you know, for a very long time, because I didn't know that that's what I was dealing with. I didn't know that I was dealing with anxiety at the time. So when I was trying to internalize all these feelings and just shove it down and shove it down and shove it down, you know, my body is still trying to figure out a way to express all of these anxious feelings. And we think that my body found that trichotillomania, pulling out my hair, was a way for my body to cope. It was a way for my mind and my body to kind of release all of these emotions and find an outlet for all of this excess energy and all of this excess anxiety. Again, this is just my experience. Trichotillomania with other mental illnesses are very complex and can have been triggered by literally anything for anybody. I think you can really see that in the documentary that I linked below called Trichster. It's on iTunes and Amazon Prime, and it follows 7 people that struggle with trichotillomania, ages 8 years old to their late 20s. And it shows how complex this disorder really can be. Mental illnesses do not discriminate against anybody. They can affect anybody at any age, of any ethnicity, of any class, of any gender, of any sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. Literally anybody could be dealing with something much more deeper and complex than you would think. That's what trichotillomania really has been for me. It's been very complex, and it's put a lot of extra stress on myself and has really affected my self-esteem, because I do have a lot of guilt and I do have a lot of shame around it, and it is embarrassing for me to talk about sometimes. It's something that I cannot control. It's something that, not only is it something that I cannot control, but it's something that affects my appearance directly. You know, when I'm not wearing a wig, when I get out of the shower, when I do anything that's just in my natural state, it's very obvious to me the changes in my hair if I've been going through a really stressful time, or if I've just been pulling unconsciously. It shows up on my physical being, and I'm looking at it every day, especially in quarantine when I'm just in this house. You know what I mean? It's messed with me for a very long time, and being that I'm just starting to figure out how to manage it this year in a more healthy manner, right? First of all, me talking about it just helps me put it out there. It helps me verbalize my feelings about dealing with it, and it helps me feel like, okay, it's out there, it's a weight off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about hiding this so much all the time. It's out there in the universe. When I first started pulling, I did my little, you know, WebMD, you know, searching, why can I not stop pulling out my hair, you know what I mean? And I found YouTube videos, I found articles about people with trichotillomania that really helped me feel like I'm not alone. There are other people dealing with this. There are other people hiding it. There are other people feeling shame and guilt and embarrassment, but that's not the end of the road for someone dealing with trichotillomania. It can be something manageable, and it can be something that you can live with that doesn't have to be so shameful. It doesn't have to be something that makes you feel so guilty all the time. It doesn't have to be something that makes you feel so debilitated all the time. And if you're in a place like me where it does affect your self-image, it does affect your happiness, then you can get wigs. And there are options for you to help aid in that part of it. It's not the end of the world to be dealing with trichotillomania, although it very much feels like it sometimes. With that being said, I wanted to end this video with some tips and tricks, with some things that I've implemented into my life that have helped me make trichotillomania manageable for me. So what I've found is that, well, what I've known for a very long time with going to therapy, is that my mind and my body have a very hard time communicating with each other. That has to do with my childhood and just everything. You know, I've learned to internalize a lot of anxious feelings, a lot of negative feelings about anything. I've learned to very much internalize it, and my body holds on to those things, holds on to those emotions, holds on to that trauma in a very different way than my mind does. My mind can forget, but my body won't. So what I've found with my anxiety and my hair pulling is that if I have ways to keep both my mind and my body occupied, that eliminates eliminates not only my hair pulling, but also my anxious feelings. One thing that's really helped me that I've implemented is yoga and meditation. Yoga obviously helps me deal with anxious feelings, and also it prevents me from pulling because I'm focusing my mind on moving my body in specific ways, and that's able to clear my mind, focus my mind, and keep my body occupied. So that's something that I really love to do. I usually do it every night. Sometimes I do it in the morning too, if I'm feeling up for it. But yeah, yoga at night has been helping me a lot. And usually after yoga, I follow that either with a meditation or just with journaling. A lot of people like to keep manifestation journals. I think that's a really cool idea too. I wouldn't consider my journal necessarily a manifestation journal. I kind of just use it for everything. Sometimes I'll journal more than once a day, just based on thoughts that maybe I feel like won't leave me alone. I'll write those down, and that kind of helps me just stop thinking about it and get it out onto a piece of paper. Another thing that I think is really helpful is if you learn a new craft. If you figure out an artistic, creative outlet. I know that video editing has been one of the first crafts that I learned in this quarantine vibe, and that's been helping me a lot. It's hard to pull out my hair when my hands are busy, you know, and my mind is busy on what I'm editing. But I also just recently learned how to sew. Let me tell you, when sewing, that's gonna be my lifesaver, I swear to God, because I be so focused in my mind. It literally forces my mind and my body to work together and be focused and be still and get this stitch straight, you know what I mean? Like that sewing, I'm gonna be a seamstress, period, because that really is one craft that not only I like doing, but is useful and is a positive outlet for me to get my mind and my body focused so I can let go of anxious feelings and stop hair pulling. Keeping myself occupied with plants. I've become a plant mom, and I've went through many struggles with some of my plants. We've been through the struggles, so keeping myself occupied, checking on my plants, making sure they're living and prospering, and if they're not, then I have to do so much research, blah, 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 figure out how to save them. I'm currently trying to save my Monstera deliciosa. She was suffering with some root rot, so that really was not the vibe. So we're praying for her, sending her positive energy. So yeah, other than those couple of things, so yoga, meditation, journaling, and crafting and being creative in some type of way, those have been things that have really been helping me stop my hair pulling or make it more manageable, as well as helps me with my anxiety a lot. So if you're looking for something to try to implement into your daily routine that might help you with trichotillomania or anxiety, I really recommend any one of those. So all in all, that's pretty much my experience and my journey with trichotillomania so far. I hope that this was helpful to anyone who's also struggling with trichotillomania or anxiety, or someone who has a friend or family member that struggles with trich. I hope that this was helpful for you to see someone's experience. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram with the link below. I'm a lot more active on there, and you can ask me questions through DM on Instagram, or you can comment below questions that you may have for me. I'm very open to helping anybody. In the description below, I included a lot of resources for people that struggle with trichotillomania, some resources explaining what trichotillomania is, some videos. I also put the link for the documentary Trichster down below if you want to watch that. I highly recommend it. So I hope that all of those resources that I put below are helpful to anyone that watches this. So thank you for watching this video so far. I hope you enjoyed it and learning something about me and how I try to cope with these difficult things that, you know, life throws at us. So I hope everyone has a really great day and learned something today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.